Here at Rougemont, they make apple juice mainly from Macintosh apples. Some 90% of juice production is done at the harvest time in October. A conveyor transports apples to an inspection location. Apples tumble in the reverse direction of the conveyor belt so that wet leaves and undesirable materials adhere to the belt. The apples are stored in silos for several hours. In order that the apples are not too bruised in their descent, they're slowed down in this stepped chute. Juice making can now begin. Now they wash the apples. This first water bath eliminates pebbles since they also use apples that have already fallen from trees. A shower of cool water completes the washing process. The apples are then cut into little pieces in this grinder and produce gratings. Enzymes are added which break down the cellular structure of the fruit, allowing for maximum juice extraction. Next, the gratings are transferred into maceration reservoirs where they'll stay for 60 to 90 minutes. Then they extract the juice. The gratings are pumped into a powerful hydraulic press. Inside the press, filter sleeves hold back the skins, seeds, and stems of the apples. Quality control is strict. At each stage of the process, they draw off samples of juice to evaluate its quality and to make sure that fabrication parameters are well adhered to. The juice is filtered a first time. The very smallest undesirable particles are held back by this sieve. The fabrication process continues. Juice flows from one stage to another via these immense reservoirs. The next step will be pasteurization. Juice enters this exchanger at 22 degrees and is heated up to 88 degrees centigrade, then cooled back down to 50 degrees. Enzymes are then added to hydrate the pectin and facilitate the second filtration. This is the ultrafiltration process, where filter membranes with microscopic pores retain the smallest of particles. The apple juice is now perfectly filtered. Its clarity is verified, as well as its flavor, color, and natural fruit sugar content. Since juice is produced in October, it has to be conserved throughout the year. A portion of the production is stored in this sterile warehouse area to await being bottled during the year. Each reservoir can hold 110,000 liters of filtered juice. No preserving agent is added. Now we move to the next stage, which is the filling of the containers. These little drinking containers are filled at the rate of 100 a minute. The containers are then hermetically sealed. Two little sprays of hot glue are applied to the containers. This secures the straws attached onto their sides. Another automated production line fills bottles with juice. They circulate in a row on this conveyor. Bottles are washed and disinfected with hydrogen peroxide in this white sterile room. Then they're rinsed with sterile water before being carried to the filling location. Each minute, 120 bottles are filled with pasteurized apple juice and sealed with a cap in a sterile environment. Bottles are then labeled and sent to shipping. Between 20 and 40,000 tons of apples are transformed into juice yearly. Thanks to its perfect preservation, consumers can enjoy this juice at any time of the year.
The next time you enjoy a glass of wine, think about your place in history. Wine may date back to 6000 BC. Nowadays, we drink it from bottles, not animal skins, but the basic principles of wine making remain the same. Wine grapes grow best in temperate climates, but if grapevines are well protected, they can survive a Canadian winter. The riper the grapes, the sweeter the wine. so growers wait as long as possible before harvesting their crop. Pickers gather grapes by hand, cutting off the bunches with shears to avoid tearing the plant. For red wine, winemakers use the entire red grape, juice, skin, pulp, and even seeds. For white wine, they use just the juice of white grapes. While the winemaking process itself is certainly a factor, the quality of the grapes is what will ultimately determine the quality of the wine. Grapes are affected by weather, by soil conditions, and by how the vines are pruned during and between seasons. The grapes go into the crusher, then into the presser, which squeezes out the juice. Inside the winery, the result of all that crushing and pressing ends up in large stainless steel tanks. The winemaker adds yeast to make the sugar in the grape juice convert to alcohol. That's called fermentation. Winemakers constantly experiment with fermentation to try to improve the quality of their wine. They take samples of grape juice and mix them with different types of yeast. Yeast is found throughout the environment, in wild berries, for instance. They hydrate the yeast with a bit of grape juice, then pour the mix into the grape juice sample, let it ferment, then see how it turns out. The big fermentation tanks are refrigerated, and monitoring their temperature is critical. White wine must be fermented at 17 degrees Celsius, red wine at 30 to 35 degrees Celsius. The fermentation period depends on the type of wine. White wine has to ferment for 3 weeks, red wine for just 10 days. Rosé wine is somewhat of a half-breed, made with red grapes but fermented slowly, like white wine. It comes out pink. There's an extra step in making red wine. During fermentation, they drain the tank to aerate the wine. The oxygen helps the yeast work faster over the short 10-day fermentation period. Then they pump the wine back in through the top of the tank to mix everything thoroughly. During fermentation, they not only monitor temperature, but also the sugar level. As the juice becomes wine, the sugar level drops and the alcohol level increases. Except for very sweet wines, fermentation is done when the sugar's gone, and the alcohol content is 11 to 13% for red wine, 11 to 11.5% for white and rosé. The wine is stored for a few months, then it's run through several pressure filters to remove any particles. Then comes time to bottle the wine. Large wineries have fully automated bottling plants, smaller operations, semi-automated systems like this one. The key in bottling wine is to avoid getting air inside, because oxygen turns wine sour. The colored wine bottles protect the wine from light, which can also affect the taste. People have used cork to plug wine bottles since ancient times, because it creates a tight seal that keeps the air out. Cork, incidentally, is a type of tree bark. It grows back so the tree isn't harmed. Inside the bottle, the wine continues to undergo subtle organic changes as it ages.